Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, and a quick introduction that will serve for each and every one of these 10 segments that will really make up my top 100 personal top 100 films of all time. It is a huge overhaul. It is a revamp. It is a relook at the entire thing. And eventually at the end of this thing, I am going to do a Letterboxd version of this, which, hopefully will make the first Letterboxd one I did years ago look pale in comparison. So really, this is my top 100 personal 100 films, things that have influenced me from the earliest of my days. I was born in 70. Man, the decade of the 80s was, VHS video stores, the drive-in circuit, all of that stuff. And of recent, becoming a collector, 22 shots of Moodz and horror, podcasts, body bags, just all my influences, right? So this top 100, it is who I am at the moment. Not much of it's going to change, I think. The top 10 will be pretty well locked, I think. But it is who I am. Remember my age, my influences as they are. By decade, 1 or 2 decades, will take up the brunt of this list. You'll see, man. So travel with me as I take this thing on. Take it on. Let's start this thing. Well, let's crack this 50, shall we? At number 50. Why waste time? You see it up on the screen. Let's bring Richard Stanley into the mix again. Probably had his films a little too close together. If that's one regret out of this list as it unfolds, is maybe sometimes I got directors a little too close to each other, a little too close for comfort's sakes, but doesn't take away at all just how freaking brilliant of a piece of work this was from Richard freaking Stanley. Maybe the closest adaptation to an H.P. Lovecraft story we have ever seen on film from its original source material, and that is the way I roll, man. I don't have anything against Stuart Gordon, man. He's a Lovecraft freak. He loves doing Lovecraft-related movies. But, man, when you talk about adapting from source material and you get it right, Richard Stanley, man, knocked it out of the park with his adaptation of The Color Out of Space. And freaking Nicolas freaking Cage, man, brings it to the freaking table, man. This whole movie is, I'm just gonna say it, man, this movie is almost as perfect as movies go, from the opening the framing shot, man, of just looking up in the trees, the mist, the rain, just, man, that it's just that atmosphere, that feeling of dread, that cosmic horror. Something bad is coming, and there is absolutely nothing this poor family can do to avoid it. It is going to hit them, man, and it is going to engulf them. And I'm telling you, man, if you somehow missed this, I don't know how you could have missed it, but if you did miss it, you need to get on it. If you loved Lovecraft, man, you really need to seriously check this out, man. It is in my top 100. This is too brilliant of an adaptation on film. And if it wasn't for all the stupid problems that unfortunately Richard got dragged into of late, his heart was in for a trilogy from Lovecraft stories, and I think the next one is supposed to be the Dunwich Horror. And now that some of those other issues have been dealt with, all we can do is hope that he is going to get quick and give it up for what's his name from gee whiz, I can't think. There's another name I can't think of. Frodo, Frodo from Lord of the Rings, the company that he helped found that put the money behind Richard Stanley so that he could do this film to begin with. I don't know why I can't think of his name. He was also in the Maniac remake. It'll come to me. But anyways, kudos to them for putting their faith and trust in Richard Stanley and really allowing him to work maybe perhaps the way he should have been allowed to work on the island of Dr. Moreau, which is some material he has said he would love to go back and try again. Willie, I don't know, but man, this stuff's so freaking good, man. All right, number 49. We are in the 50, man. This is where things start to get real, man. This is where your list really starts to, the meat of it starts to take shape. Don Coscarelli, man, one of the best 80s follow-ups, man, in terms of big studio budget sequels. Phantasm 2, man, the excellent Scream Factory released DVD of this. I also have the wonderful Arrow box set that came out for the entire franchise. But this is a stellar release from Scream Factory in terms of just all the extras, the commentaries and stuff, and just everything they put on to this thing is pretty stellar, man. But what a follow-up, man. As a kid, man, I had the theatrical poster on my wall, man. You remember this summer, The Ball is back. I mean, those were the days, man. Just waiting for that thing to hit theaters, and then eventually we're renting it out of the VHS stores, man. Good stuff, man. That is some good stuff right there, man. That movie is so freaking awesome. At number 48, new into my top 100 sort of thinking. The movie is too good not to be in there. Spanish film from Balaguer and Paca Plaza and Jaume. I can't Balaguer. I can't butchering name, but anyways, from 07, man. Wreck. This is from the Scream Factory box set. Absolutely beautiful box set for the franchise. This movie is as claustrophobic as it comes, man. And the follow-up, man, is freaking superb. Some argue maybe is better than the first. The third one, man, you really just got to have a niche for it. I do. I love the third one. I think it's awesome. And the fourth one is just a fun way to wrap it all up, I think. But Wreck, the first one, man, I don't know anything about Quarantine, man, the Americanized remake. I've never seen it, actually. I love my Wreck, though, man. I love my Wreck. Yeah, some good stuff right there. Number 47. Let's bring some Sam Raimi back into the mix. And I'm going to show off. I only have one of these releases, and so I'm gonna show it off, man. My Anchor Bay 10 for The Evil Dead 2. Again, another incredible follow-up to its original film that as a kid, man, this was the kind of movie, man, that just blew you out of the water. K&B, the special effects, hands-on practical effects, man. Raimi's use of the camera and doing all that crazy stuff he would become known for. I mean, the second trip to the cabin is the craziest trip to the cabin, I think, for Bruce Campbell and company. And it's just, I could be here all day talking about some of these movies, but man, this one had a real influence on me as a kid, man, as I fell in love with Sam Raimi, and it just an incredible follow-up, man, and absolutely incredible. Another, I didn't plan it like this, man, but it's another two. There's a bunch of twos in this top 10, man. Another incredible follow-up. I absolutely dig this movie. I love this movie, man, more than a lot of people probably, and I don't know, maybe it could be higher on my list. But we are talking about Tobe Hooper's follow-up to his own masterpiece of terror, of course, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Dude, this movie freaking rocks, man. The bridge scene, man, is one for the ages. Just the whole the rock station studio, all that stuff going on. One of the greatest jump scares ever, man. When another metal door flings open, Leatherface jumps out of the darkness. Maybe the door doesn't fling open, but he comes out of the darkness, and man, just an absolutely awesome. This is before I put TCM on, I'm probably putting in this one. Now, I love the original, but the original's tone is so heavy, man. I mean, you just got to be in the right mindset for it. This is just a fun ride, man. And I dig it, man. I so absolutely dig this movie, man. Just a phenomenal. They say I was reading in Fangoria, one of my old Fangos, not that long ago, and mentioned it to the guys at Body Bags that there was Tobe had an idea for a 3, and I think it was going to be called Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the Valley of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you had some kids, I think, were going to come into a situation where this whole town was filled with family members, man, that were part of this clan. And it just the whole vibe of reading about this in a few paragraphs, we were all just like, dude, that would have been sick if that ever happened. And that's the one of the things about digging through your old fangos, man, is, you know, sometimes you'll be reading an article on something, prepping for something or whatever, and then you'll just read about how this almost came to be, and you're just like, dude, that'd have been so sick. And it's fun. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, no problem this being in the upper end of my top 100. Number 45, man. This movie, I'm going to be honest, could be a little bit further up, but it probably settled in the right spot, man. It's my only Joe D'Amato film in my collection. You know, I said I love some island horror, and man, being a kid renting movies on VHS out of the store, this was known as the Grim Reaper. We would know it as, of course, Anthropophagus, and this is, of course, the 88 release of this. This movie is the singular reason why I needed to be region-free, why I needed one of those region-free players, because at the time, there was no U.S. release of this. The only way you could get it was on 88 Films, or one of the only ways you could get it was on 88 Films over in the UK. And so this is the movie. This is probably the tipping balance there, or tip me over, that I needed, because it's the only way I was going to get the movie. And of course, wouldn't you know it, once I've got it in my collection, it would eventually get a, I can't remember if it was Synopsis or Severn, one of those companies released a Blu-ray release of this stateside. So this does have a stateside release, and probably a nice one too. But man, I love the cover art, man. Even when it was the Grim Reaper for me, and I would read about it in the pages of Fango too. This movie, man, this movie, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the greatest island horror films I have ever seen. And if you beg to disagree, then you better be putting titles of island horror films down in the comment section so I can check these things out and maybe discover something new, because I love island horror, and this is one of the greatest. Joe D'Amato, man, only known for a couple of regular normalized films. We know he has an expansive filmography of, let's just say, more extravagant films, none of which are on my shelves, but this one and his follow-up Absurd, it's too bad that never got a third piece. There's so many instances of this in film history, where the first two were really good, really fun or whatever, and there was never a third piece. And if Joe D'Amato could have only, man, gave us a third piece to cement it off as his own unique sort of trilogy, you know, not in so different than we have the Gates of Hell or we have the Three Mothers trilogy. This could have been Joe D'Amato's trilogy. And I've read places that there was more to this story that could have lended itself to another film, that could have created a loose tying trilogy. And George Eastman, man, freaking rocks as the Grim Reaper, man. Of course, his writing, his involvement in stage fright, what I consider one of the greatest slashers of all time. And God, the girl in the vine vat, man, that pops out with a butcher knife, covered in wine, just Anthropophagus, man. Joe D'Amato. God, freaking love that movie, man. All right, another movie I freaking love. One that I said earlier has grown on me, much like The Serpent and the Rainbow. John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness. So much so that I grabbed the Scream Factory 4K release. It looks phenomenal 4K. And this is a movie, part of the Apocalyptic trilogy. There is another loose-fitting trilogy, right? This movie has so grown on me. And it is one of my more favorite John Carpenter films. What a run he had. And this man, Donald Pleasance again, and just the dread. I mean, you know, some Lovecraft influence there. Just the cosmic horror of it all, and just the dread that is coming, the apocalypse to be. The sound, the score, of course, John. And I think Alan Howarth did he work with? just I don't know. What can you say, man? It was a big on my list as a kid, but I mean, today it's just in a deeper, more philosophical way. It's grown on me. I don't know what else to say, man. Number 43, another director slash musician slash artist, man, who is also grown on me of late. I don't know what it'd been like to have rented if it existed back in the day. His films on VHS, man. But I'm gonna tell you what, man. Rob freaking Zombie, man. One of the best remakes ever made. I don't care what you say. You have got to understand the story behind this. You have got to understand his pitch to the Weinsteins. If he would have got his way, this would not have been one film. This would have been two films. This would have been filmed simultaneous, one after the other. The first piece would have been released one Halloween. The second piece released the next Halloween. The first piece would have been his own unique imprint on the story. The second film would have been more of a nod to John Carpenter's masterpiece that we know, of course, simply as Halloween. And you know, and the Weinsteins, I don't know, man. They just freaking irritate you sometimes, man. So he didn't get his pitch, but he did get to make his movie, and they basically said, you can have it, just put the two together and make one film. So if you ever wondered why this movie feels like two movies, that's why. It is two movies. And in effect, had he got his pitch the way he wanted it, H2, the way H2 is, if H2 even ever comes, it is the third piece, and it might be a lot different than what it is today. Had he got his way on the first one. But either way, the cinematography, how it's shot, man, the score, of course, aesthetically, how he approaches it. I think enough of it is his own unique vision that even though the second half of the film really is Carpenter-ish in terms of certain scenes reshot, redone, you just got to know the backdrop of things, man. Or you're just being overly critical for no reason, and that really seriously irritates me. Maybe I listen to way too many discussions on Rob Zombie, or listen to him way too much, but it's just one of those stories, man. I consider it at the top of the heap of remakes. It is one of the best remakes ever made, and I know a lot of you are not going to agree with that, and that is A-okay, because as Moodz always says, film is subjective, man. It is up to us and us alone, man. And I know a couple of you are nodding your heads right now. All right, let's get into some number 42. This was a late change up. I changed this up. I moved this up just a little bit to move something else down a little bit. But really, when you're in the top 50, and even a top 100, really, I know you have the upper half, 50 up and 50 down. But this movie is one of the movies I did want to talk about, too, that I sort of alluded to earlier. Jack Hill, right? Jack Hill, Spider Baby, or the maddest story ever told. It was shot, I think, in 64, released in 67 on the drive-in circuit. This is one of the most bizarre. Lon Chaney Jr., heads the cast of a superb cast of a very, very strange movie. And if Jack Hill could ever get his sequel done, that he, expressed a lot of interest. It already exists on paper, conceptually, just he never got a chance to make it, unfortunately. But this is a movie, if you go way back to James Whale's The Old Dark House, this sort of comes in succession. You have that one back there in 32, but then in 64, this comes along. And then in 74, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes along. And then in 03, whatever, you have Zombies, House of a Thousand Corpses come along. And there's this unique linear line of seriously defected family house type films. And this one may be the most bizarre, but the one, man, Zombie really, I think Spider Baby, more than any other film, gave birth to the House of a Thousand Corpses. If you watch this film and you watch that film, Yeah, there's Texas in there, but I mean, like I said, it's a linear line, man. Going back to James Whale's The Old Dark House. Um, and this movie is absolutely insane. Its opening shot is absolutely so out of this, politically incorrect, out of this world. You can never get away with it today. There's so much in this movie you never. One of the greatest homages to old Universal movies. In fact, when Lon Chaney Jr. makes the point, they're at the dinner table having about as bizarre dinner as you can possibly have. This is like pre-Texas, right? Kind of dinner table scenes. And you know, some of the characters are talking about, you know, just the weirdness of things, and Lon Chaney Jr. of all people says, you know, there's going to be a full moon tonight. And it's like, if it wasn't Lon Chaney Jr. saying it and the way he delivered it, it could have been the corniest, cheesiest line ever. Instead, it's one of the greatest. This Jack Hill's movie, this is just genuine, just superb weirdness. And the, you know, I mean, like I said, Lon Chaney Jr., man, this is like one of the last movies he ever did, man. Unfortunately, he's drinking a lot during this movie, and he did sober up a lot for this last outing, and I'm so glad he did, because, man, just the oh god, everything in this movie, man, the dynamics, I guess, between the characters, the story, the weirdness, the relatives living down in the basement in sort of like under the floor, you know, the cannibalism, the well, that's inherent in the film, not really shown, but inherent. You know, it's the Mary disease, right? If you don't know a lot about this effort, man, you really need to get on it, man. If you appreciate The Old Dark House, or maybe just Texas Chainsaw, even Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, and want to see a movie that really influenced those, you got to watch Jack Hill's Spider Baby, man, or The Maddest Story Ever Told. And truly, it is one of the maddest stories ever told. And let's say 41. I know we're getting a little long here, winded. I'm sorry. It's probably going to get worse, man, as we get deeper into this 50. I hope not. But number 41, I played with this movie a whole lot. It was higher up than what it was, and I just felt like it had to come down a little bit, because the movie, I don't know. Look, I don't care what Stephen King says. I do care what he says. But I so dig Stanley Kubrick's approach to this masterful retelling of his own unique source material from 1980, of course, The Shining. And I really ought to have a 4K release of this thing. The cinematography. Look, I think there's something to really dig here. When you have Jack Nicholson's character, who is inherently baggaged, but he's trying to push that baggage away, but no matter how hard he does, he fails, because the evil of the hotel, it just raises all that garbage up to the demise of him and his family. And I just think it's more layered, man. Now, I've never sat and read The Shining from cover to cover. I know enough of the conversation that I don't know. And, you know, it's fine. Stephen King does it. I mean, if you're a writer, you're going to be so attached to your work, rightfully so. You're not going to like everything that is made for the screen, that is adapted from your own work. I mean, you know, it's the process. You get a novel sometimes, it gets transformed into a screenplay, which is a battle of its own, and then from the screenplay to the screen. I mean, but it is a phenomenal classic. Maybe it needs to be even higher on my list. But the music, the score, just and I say, this is a very early sort of honoring mention or whatever. A movie that is not in my top 100. Doctor Sleep, the director's cut of that, Michael Flanagan. It is a worthy follow-up. Superbly done, considering everything he's balancing with the Kubrick vision, the original source material. I mean, it was masterfully done. So anyways, Stanley Kubrick's, I personally think, a masterful film, legendary film, of absolute horror run amok in a hotel's past that is just unleashed. And it is some good stuff, man. So at 41, Kubrick's The Shining, Jack Hill's Spider Baby at number 42. Number 43, Rob Zombie's Halloween from '07 remake. Carpenter's Prince of Darkness at 44. Anthropophagus at 45. Some Joe D'Amato goodness there. Toby Hooper comes at 46 with Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Evil Dead Part 2 at number 47, man. The Anchor Bay 10 release of this is phenomenal. And then, let's see here. Wreck from '07 at number 48. There you go. The Scream Factory box set is absolutely awesome. At number 49, Coscarelli's only big studio follow-up to his original film, Phantasm 2. You know, I love the rest of the films as they fall, and especially bringing Michael back, or Mike, I think, back into the original actor back into the equation. I find the other films absolutely superb. It was nice just to get one big studio outing, just to see him use more money. Sort of like Romero got to do with The Land of the Dead, right? And he never went back to the big studio. God rest his soul. And then Kubrick's masterful Lovecraft adaptation, The Color Out of Space, at number 50. There you go. The next time I do this, we'll be cracking into the 30s. This is where things really start to get tight. And remember, man, just remember my age, remember my influences, and just show me some grace, man. This is a top 100 I'm feeling pretty proud of, I think. And we only got, what, maybe 3 more of these to do before we hit that very, very impressive top 10. And I'm hoping at least one surprise in that top 10, if not a couple. Anyways, we always end these things off with Go Bills.